The Edelweiss Pirates were a youth resistance group during the Nazi regime that opposed Hitler's youth movements at the time. Nazi youth activities would often start out appearing to be what seems as Boy-Girl Scout activities, like sports and games at a young age. But during their teenage years, the regime would quickly start preparing them for war and have them participate in violent book-burning activities. The Edelweiss Pirates stood strongly against what was planned for them and resisted in various ways, such as not conforming to dress code and hairstyles. They also listened to banned music at the time. Being a part of this movement was a punishable offense at the time, leading to many of them being killed and hung when caught. Ultimately, the pirates resisted the Nazi regime in the best way kids could possibly do so, not conforming to the status quo at the time, as well as being rambunctious and chaotic when they could. The essential reason the youth movement emerged was to resist the youth groups that were present during the Nazi regime and the indoctrination of kids at the time. They viewed activities at the time, such as learning how to handle weaponry and working in agriculture, as forms of oppression and injustice, and rebelled against them. The characteristics of the youth involved in the movement were that they often joined when they were between 14 and 17, and would often join right when they left school at the age of 14, as a form of resistance, since that was allowed at the time but unfavored unless they were joining the army. They came from different regions but would recognize each other through a badge and a common style of dress. They would often wear their hair down and leave it long, as this was frowned upon during Hitler's Nazism. They mainly came from families of working class parents that experienced the most oppression during that time. The youth culture was an interesting aspect of the movement because many of their qualities would be just seen today as qualities associated with being a teenager, such as hanging out in empty areas such as parking lots, mingling with the opposite sex, and vandalizing the walls of the town with phrases such as "Down with Hitler." They also did other things such as shelter-escape prisons and stole things like ammunition and explosives from derailed trains and shelters to give to adult resistance groups. They did all of these things despite the risks it put them at. When they were caught, they were either sent to detention camps, get their hair shaved off, or unfortunately hung, which was the case on October 25th in 1944, when 13 pirates were publicly hung in the city of Cologne. The youth movements developed socio-political awareness amongst themselves just by living under the authoritarianism. It wasn't difficult to see the oppression. It was more of an issue of whether or not you had the courage to defy the regime and face the consequences if caught. Growing up and witnessing the anti-Semitism and the vandalizing of homes and the murdering of millions really impacted the pirates growing up, allowing them to make the decision to not take part in that when they were teenagers. The movement never had a clear ending point. Their efforts enrolled in opposition faded off as it ended around 1945. The pirates never really received recognition until 1988 by the Holocaust Memorial in Jerusalem and had their names recognized as resistance fighters and heroes. The movement is connected to the structural and social determinants of health because being exposed to violence, oppression, alongside not having good economic stability and having an authoritative community and social atmosphere definitely shapes your mental and physical health. All of your mental effort is invested in opposition, which leaves little to no room for growth, as there isn't even a sense of security established growing up. To conclude, the Edelweiss Pirates were an extremely brave and powerful movement during the Nazi regime in Germany that led to awareness during the time concerning the oppression that was happening. They risked their lives on a daily basis to stand up for what they believed was wrong and saved and protected escaped prisoners from detention camps in the process, alongside helping adult resistance groups as well.